Which banged-up yet talented AFC West receiver might be a sneaky good start in Week 2? Is O.J. Howard's disappearing act likely to continue? And what can you expect from Antonio Brown on Sunday? Plus, the Week 1 fourth-place team owner in the 2019 FFPC main event, Rob Leven, drops in to talk Darren Waller's big Week 1, whether Devontae Adams and the Packers will bounce back this weekend, and more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your HSFF Hour starts now.
Hold your hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. Hardcore hip-hop. Going out to the hardcore.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
With the master rhymer, that's the lead behind the video rapper. You know the top climber, tapper.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Balkaholics and Gerzak fanatics. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up. Yes, go ahead.
We don't have anything to sell anybody, so this intro is going to be like 20 seconds long.
Yeah,
don't go to the site. Don't try and sign up for anything. There's nothing to sell you.
Oh, 100% accurate, Dave. And with that,
just have fun.
Your weekend starts now.
Hopefully you're playing already.
It's funny, as I was putting the rundown together with our producer and mutual friend Rob, and I kind of realized that. I'm like, oh my goodness,
what the hell are we going to talk about?
I don't have a midnight draft that I want to put on these people. I don't want to tell them that we have dynasty startups going. No, nothing's going on.
Don't go
right
to
now.
PH.
Don't go to Planet Hollywood.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. No, there's nothing going on there. It's going to be weird, but it is going to be fun, no question. Coming up on tonight's show, should you be playing a beat-up Joe Mixon in your lineups? How should you handle those Giants receivers in Week 2? And Rob Leven joins us to talk about his fourth-place main event team and the biggest challenge he faces managing it the rest of the way. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. You can always connect with us on Twitter at HSFFR, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak, Facebook.com/HSFFR if you want to chime in and talk with us. Give us a call at 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, all the tweets, all the emails in the fantasy feedback segment coming up later on in the show. Like Dave said, I have nothing that I'm pimping tonight. I guess one of the things we could say is a big thank you, really, quite frankly, Dave, to everyone who
all of our great players,
to everyone who was involved in playing with us this year. The FFPC main event sold out at 2,400 teams. Football Guys Players Championship sold out at 8,400 teams. We had probably a record in best balls this year. Is that accurate to say?
Oh, yeah, record best ball, record 35s. We had that second place 35 prize, so that really helped signups there quite a bit. People are loving playing the 35s. It's such a fun format. It's a great mock draft. The live events went fantastically well. Alex only screwed up a few things, which I had to fix. Chris fixed it too. So
I would tell you this: if anybody screwed up anything live, it was probably me. Quite frankly.
Yeah, we had a few adjustments, but everything went well. And most importantly, we saved a deck of playing cards. We may not need them next year, so we saved $3.
Allegedly, we'll see how that goes. How many dynasty leagues do we have going now? Do you know offhand?
Offhand, I don't know. It's in the 300 plus.
300?
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of new dynasty leagues. Everybody was having fun with those. Trades are going off all the time. It's been a good start to the season. It there's always a few too many injuries for me, and I just can't stand it. I don't like people performing poorly out of the gate.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it just happens. I mean, it is how it is. Right?
I'll say this about injuries. They're part of the game. I think our guest will tell you that as well, as we have him coming up in just a minute here. And I think the important thing to know is that you have to be able to draft knowing that injuries will happen. I think it's another layer of strategy. I think that the better players, who drafting in the contest plan for it. They allot themselves for it, and that's why they've been successful. I think injuries, unless you are in a real rare year, injuries are going to hit you. They're going to hit you hard. They hit everybody hard, and you got to be able to plan for it, no question. And with that, let's bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He is a former college football player at Cornell University. Ever hear of it?
I've heard.
No, that's an Office joke. The
sorry,
Office,
I didn't
I know you
watch
don't watch
all the episodes of your great show.
But it's interesting that we should bring up not an Office joke, but we have a fellow, not a fellow, but an FFPC player.
Who's a Cornelian?
Who is a Cornelian, a professor there.
He didn't actually graduate from Cornell, but he teaches there.
Entomology, is that his field?
Yeah, bugs.
Yeah, bugs, and it's sort of the human physiology, not human physiology, but
he does like chaos theory and all that uppity, cool stuff, man.
Yes.
That I wish I could learn.
I'm actually surprised Hudson Kern-Reeve is not in the chat room right now, but he's the one we're talking about.
Yeah.
So another Cornell connection coming on the show tonight. He's been playing fantasy football for over 20 years and in the FFPC for a decade. He typically tries to limit his leagues to 3 teams between the FFPC and local leagues simply to maintain his sanity. He prides himself on being able to spot and predict player talent and performance at the NFL level. His objective in the FFPC every year is to win his league and let the chips fall where they may after that. And right now, the chips have fallen to place his squad 4th overall in the 2019 FFPC main event after week 1 in the chase for $500,000. Please welcome into the program Mr. Rob Leven. Rob, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man.
Hey, you're welcome, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. It's exciting to have you on. Oh, yeah, you're coming through just fine. And I have to ask you, as long as we just introduced you as a former college football player, what's the slant here? Is there any advantage that you have knowing that you played college football and now drafting a bunch of other guys who played college football and now play at the highest level?
I don't think so. I mean, I think being around the sport helps. Being around, but I don't know that there's any great advantage. Just playing football for a lot of years though does give you exposure to watching, strategy, coaching strategy, player talent. Yeah, it's helpful.
So, hey Rob, what position did you play at Cornell?
I was a defensive back, cornerback.
All right. Hey, Bulky, you were corner. That's awesome.
Here's one. So here's the thing, and I'll tell you this right now. I'll spoil it. I actually did a little research into Rob's career. You know what? His college career and my high school career have in common. We both had one career interception.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Is that accurate, Rob?
It's been so long ago, I don't remember. But sounds close.
I think he thinks he might have had 20. I'm not sure if it was one.
Rob, you also, according to the stats I found on Cornell's website, you also returned kicks there as well.
I did. I was a punt returner. I did. Yeah.
So we have a special teams ace and a defensive Leven on the show tonight.
No fear.
That's awesome, man.
Let's get into fantasy football here, Rob, and congrats on your 244-point week 1.
That's a sick week.
Part of that score was attributed to Patrick Mahomes. He had 31 points. You drafted him at the 310 in your main event at a time when really the majority of high-stakes players, this time of drafting season, they're waiting later than ever on quarterbacks. Why were you willing to make sure you got Mahomes where you did?
Well, it was weird, I'll tell you. You guys probably know that, you spend a lot of time preparing for your drafts, mock drafting. I study a lot of ADP, look at players that are going to be available at different slots that I'm drafting at. And I can tell you, under no preparation or no mock draft that I did was I taking Pat Mahomes in any draft. So it was a totally unplanned thing. You plan for your draft, you have a strategy, and then the draft just happens. And I think what happened is that, where I was drafting from in the 10 slot, I was expecting him to be long gone. I mean, in most of the ADP that I looked at, he was gone in the second round somewhere. So when he got back to me at the end of the third round, at that point I had two stud receivers on my team. I had Devontae Adams and Michael Thomas, and so I was looking for a running back really at that spot. And I was looking at what was available in both that round and the next round, and from what I could tell, I didn't think there was going to be much of a difference in the running backs that were available to me in the fourth and fifth round versus the end of the third. And I just thought Mahomes was just too big of a value to pass up, at the end of the third round based on where he was going. So it was totally unplanned, but it's working so far.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to remember too is you're trying to get your guys, and clearly, while Patrick Mahomes wasn't one of quote unquote your guys this year, there is a value there, and anytime you have the value, you have to take advantage of it. Similar to the running back that you took in the fourth round, Dave.
Yeah, so you grabbed Marlon Mack in the fourth. You got 25 points in week one. Man, I had a feeling Marlon Mack was going to go off this year. Anyway.
It's been 1 week. I mean, let's not.
Yeah, well, so whatever. So what was your outlook on Marlon Mack this year? I mean, the offensive line for the Colts, everybody, talks about how great they are, and they kind of proved it week one. Andrew Luck retiring. But, his backup sure looks pretty good. What do you think overall about the Colts?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, drafting after, as late as possible is always good. So I love to draft after the opening game and just get as much information as possible. Now, the Colts, when Andrew Luck went down, I think Marlon Mack was probably getting drafted pretty consistently in at least in the third round, sometimes in the second round, towards the end of the second round, but probably in the third round pretty consistently. And he was rising up draft boards, towards the beginning of the season until the Andrew Luck, bombshell came down. And so, he dropped at least a round after that happened. I just didn't think it was that big of a deal. I mean, I think the Colts offensive line, as you guys said, one of the best, if not the best in the league. A lot of people were down on Jacoby Brissett. I was not that down on him. I thought he was, a pretty serviceable, at a minimum, a serviceable quarterback. And behind that offensive line, I thought he would be able to, to do enough to not have teams, really, really stack the box against Marlon Mack. So again, I was kind of happy to get him, at that point in the draft as really probably one of the last, true 3-down backs that were on the board at that point. And to get a pretty true 3-down back at the fourth round in the draft, I think is a pretty good value.
And I think that's sort of a microcosm for a lot of successful high stakes players over the years. They'll get the elite tight ends, they'll get the elite receivers, but the ones that are truly that end up cashing the 5- and 6-figure paydays are the ones that are able to find not just a 3-down running back in the fourth round, but sometimes a guy who can be a top 20 running back in the 7th round or a top 25 back in the 8th round. Things like that oftentimes pay off, and Marlon Mack looks like he is on his way to be paying off the former to you, Rob, no question. Rob Nevin, the 4th place team in the FFPC main event coming into week 2. Rob Leven joining us tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Waiting on tight end certainly paid off for you here, getting Darren Waller at the 10:03. I got to ask you, do you think that we're going to see more 17.5-point games from him as we saw week
higher.
1? More than 17.5? Yeah. It certainly is possible. Or was his output a product of the Broncos continuing to struggle to cover the tight end?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think think he's a potential top 5 tight end. I mean, I think he's a potential another, I think, Zach Ertz or George Kittle, a guy like that, and he's in a system that, heavily relies on and targets the tight end. I mean, he's got the athletic ability of those guys, and he's in a system that, that utilizes the tight end a ton. I mean, he played, I think it was, 94% of the offensive snaps. I think he was out on, a very high percentage of, pass routes that he ran when Carr was throwing. So, I mean, he's going to see, I think he's going to see a lot of volume. I mean, I think he could be, one of my picks of the draft. I mean, I was very nervous about the tight end situation, to be honest with you, because, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to get one of the big 3 guys, and I was kind of targeting the next group down to, Jared Cook in I think it was maybe the 5th or 6th round was kind of like where my threshold was, and those guys they all went very early in our draft, and so once that happened, I was just waiting, and I'd been watching Waller and in preseason and some of the hard knock stuff and all that, but the guy's just an athletic freak, and again, a lot of times, in the NFL, it's you can be the greatest player in the world if you're not in the right system. You may not produce that well from a fantasy perspective or from a stat perspective. So he's a great example of a combination of a guy who's got unbelievable talent and is in the right situation. So I think he's got a lot of upside. I think he's going to continue to be very good.
Dave, it also sounds like you think he's going to continue to be very good as well as we look at Darren Waller going forward. Why do you like him so much?
Well, there's not many targets, and there's not many other players that are going to get targets. Tyrell Williams is going to command targets. Antonio Brown is gone. The system did prove itself, as Rob was saying, last year with Jared Cook getting so many targets. And Jared Cook had been kind of a bust heading into last year. So, Derek Carr likes to throw to his tight end, and Waller is a really great athlete. He used to be a wide receiver at Georgia Tech, came to the NFL as like this big wide receiver, turned into a tight end, got over the drug issues, and he looks super clean. You look at it, you can see, you look at people, you look at Darren Waller's face, and this guy doesn't look like he's had a sip of alcohol in in like a decade. He's like totally chiseled, looks in fantastic shape. He's got no issues.
And he hasn't had a sip of alcohol in, 2 or 3 years?
I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know if it was drugs, too, or whatever. But
I think it was both.
Yeah, but I mean, he looks totally clean. Like he's really, he's got a good head on his shoulders. So I, wish him the best. I think I do agree with you. I wish I had him in Dynasty. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't have him in Dynasty at all. Rob, let me ask you this. I think the 3 of us all like Darren Waller. I think Tyrell Williams, from a season-long standpoint, certainly holds some value. Is Hunter Renfrow droppable right now? I mean, is there anybody else that you're willing to roster in the Oakland passing game that's not a running back or anything of that ilk?
Not really. I mean, not really. Not on my team. I mean, look. The answer is it depends on what your team looks like. I mean, I'm fortunate, very, very fortunate right now to have come out of the draft with just a lot of depth. Probably everywhere except for tight end. Tight end's the one. I mean, if something happens to Waller, which, you guys were talking about injuries before. Obviously, we all deal with them, and it's just part of the game. It happens every week. It's like the match unit every week. So, if something happens to Waller, I could have some issues in that position. So, that's kind of the one hole I see in the roster right now. But, just about everywhere else, it's pretty deep.
Rob, one thing that we see, and what you mentioned,
I wouldn't roster him on my team, but I wouldn't roster him on my roster.
No, that's sort of where I'm at too right now. What about a couple other receivers, Dave?
Well, I was going to say, Rob, a lot of times we have people on, and it's funny because they will say, we'll ask them about starter sick questions, and they'll be like, to be honest with you, my bench is so terrible. I just start the same 10 guys every week. And they don't have a deep team. But you had Jamison Crowder, who caught 14 passes. And was it 14, Volky?
Yeah, 14 passes.
14 passes on 80 targets, whatever it was. That's a bulky joke.
I just realized I needed to laugh at that. That's funny.
DJ Chark also had a fantastic game. Really nice catch early on, a nice touchdown. They're both on your bench. Who are you excited more about? Are you going to be starting Crowder this weekend after his monster game last weekend?
I have Crowder. I liked Crowder coming into the season. I have him on either two or all three of my teams, and I got him, very late in just about all the drafts that I was in. I thought he would be kind of a target hog, and at least week one he was that. So he is definitely a guy that is going to be cracking my lineups. I don't know yet if it's going to be this week because, again, I got a lot of, this is the blessing and the curse of having a very fortunate draft, is you end up, scratching your head about, who the heck do you start, each week. Whereas if your team is shitty, like you said, there's 10 guys every week. I'm wavering between, him, Gallup, and Tariq Cohen, to be honest with you, because I'm probably only going to be able to start one of those three guys. And I think right at the moment I got Tariq Cohen in my lineup, but it could easily be Crowder or even Gallup.
We're talking with Rob Leven, the 2019 FFPC main event Week 1 fourth-place team owner here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour with Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. 244 points, Rob, in Week 1, and they are all scored without the services of your aforementioned second-round pick, Davante Adams. After what we saw against the Bears with the Packers on Thursday night, talk a little bit about your concerns or lack thereof with not only Davante Adams, but the Packers' offense as a whole for this season.
I'm not concerned at all, to be honest. I think, first of all, Week 1 is always a scratchy, offensive situation for most teams. And they had to go to Chicago and play one of the best defenses, as you guys know, in the league. So I'm not at all concerned. In fact, I think the only reason I ended up with Davante Adams, at the whatever that was, I guess the third pick in the second round, was because of what happened, on opening night. I mean, Davante Adams was consistently being taken in the middle to late first round in almost every draft, that I was looking at. So to get him at that third pick in the second round, I thought was again a steal. And I'm not concerned. He's got a tough matchup this week again, against Minnesota and Xavier Rhodes, but I still like him at home. I think they're going to have a really hard time running the ball. Green Bay will against Minnesota, so they're going to have to, go to Rodgers and throw a bunch, and I think Davante Adams will be just fine.
Dave, this is interesting too because, well, let me ask you this first: Did you draft Davante Adams in any of your leagues at all this year, or no?
I did not, although I wasn't really avoiding him or anything. I really don't own him anywhere, but I wasn't really totally avoiding him or anything. It's just kind of by chance.
I have him in a few spots, and obviously Kyle Fuller and the Bears pass rush, I think, had an effect on him in Week 1. But as Rob pointed out, it's Xavier Rhodes in Week 2. Now, granted, it is still at home, and I think Green Bay and I was talking to a lot of the local Packers guys here on the air on the show, which you can listen to on AM 1570, FM 95.3, 99.1 in Oshkosh, or go to thescorewi.com, listen on the app. But we talked to the Packers beat writers and people who cover the Packers. They have said, look, historically, it is very difficult for Davante Adams to have back-to-back bad games. And in the sense that even though Mike McCarthy, as much as we rip on his schemes and rip on his prehistoric take on offensive performance, by and large, in the history of Adams' career, since he blossomed, since he broke out, he's almost never had back-to-back bad weeks. It is very difficult for him to put out clunkers 2 weeks in a row because the Packers oftentimes will scheme him open the following week, and I think we're going to see that against Minnesota this week. as a Devontae Adams owner, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to sit him, even though I might have weaknesses on my team. That is not one of them. As we look at weaknesses on teams, Dave, and you look at Rob's team, even though it's in 4th place, maybe there's some room for improvement.
Yeah, Rob, you kind of alluded to tight end being your biggest weakness. Does that seem correct, or maybe defense or kicker you need to fix up?
Oh yeah, kicker.
Hey, I did reach up and take a kicker in the 16th round, I think it was. So there's a little, it's funny. It's a funny thing at the end of the drafts when almost everybody will sort of high stakes players will tell you if you're in a 20-round draft, take your kicker in the 19th and your defense in the 20th, or vice versa, or whatever. I've actually found sometimes reaching up and whatever, not in the 12th round or 13th round or 14th round, but if you get down to the 16th, 17th round, I don't think it's a horrible strategy to go out and get one of these really good kickers with big legs, because these guys are kicking routinely 55, 60, yard field goals, and the way and making them pretty consistently, and the way the points work with field goals. I mean, you can get. That's almost a touchdown. That's almost a touchdown. They make a 58-yard field goal, right? So, I don't think it's a horrible strategy. Again, not to reach crazy for something like that, but as you get into the, maybe not to wait till the last 2 rounds. But on my team, I really think it's tight end is the one place where, again, if something bad happened, which it usually does, I could have some issues. If something bad happens obviously if Mahomes gets hurt, it's very difficult to replace him. But quarterbacks, Matt Stafford outscored. Matt Stafford, who I got in the whatever round, 17th round as my backup. He scored more points than Mahomes did in Week 1. So you guys know the point differential on quarterbacks could be, pretty tight. So that wouldn't be totally catastrophic. If I lost other guys in other positions, wide receiver, running back, I'm pretty deep. So tight end would be, again, the one spot, and that was, I picked up Blake Jarwin and this past week, pretty cheap. I mean, great offense, very young athletic kid, is a good pass catcher. If Witten gets hurt and he could get hurt walking to the sideline at this point in his career, even though he was not a guy who usually gets hurt. But he's pretty old at this point, so I figured, again, great system, very good offense. Looks like they're going to throw the ball a little bit more. They've always thrown the ball to the tight end anyway. Blake Jarwin could be a serviceable guy potentially, but I'll be sort of trolling. I would say trolling the wires, every week just to see, to try to hit on a tight end that, that could step up if an injury happened, or if, something happened where all of a sudden, you could have a serviceable guy. I don't think I'm going to get any great stud, but, just a serviceable guy that could back up if something happens.
Rob Leven, our guest tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Footballer, the FFPC main event 4th place team owner. That kind of leads into what I was going to ask you, with this Blake Jarwin pickup, because he was your lone acquisition in this league this week, and knowing that you feel like you do have a weakness at tight end, is this going to be sort of a revolving door? I mean, this week could be Blake Jarwin, next week maybe it's another, athletic tight end that has the opportunity on an elite offense. I think it's not necessarily maybe more so about his talent, but the potential opportunity, I think it goes part and parcel with what you're trying to do with your roster, is trying to balance that out, where if a guy does indeed go down, you're looking at another player with, top 10, top 15 upside. Regardless, whether it's tight end, running back, receiver, I think that is a huge part of trying to win the FFPC main event, right?
Yeah, that's what you got to look for. And you got to be, you got to be on top of it, and you got to be constantly, looking for those guys. And sometimes, you may pick up those guys and hold them for, a few weeks, waiting maybe to see if an injury happens or something like that, and you may drop that guy and roll the dice with somebody else. So, I suspect, again, particularly at the tight end position, that I will be, sort of playing that a little bit of that wheel for a while to try to solidify, again, if something bad happens with Waller.
So another waiver wire kind of question: do you normally like to bid a lot of your waiver money early, Rob, or do you kind of be more conservative and hang on to it until the end? This is mostly for like main event type stuff.
Honestly, I think it totally depends, again, on your team. My team this year, I think I'm going to be pretty darn conservative, unless I just get a huge slew of, of injuries. But, I don't think I'm going to be doing anything too crazy, and kind of stashing my money away. If you have a weaker team, I think you got to be really aggressive because, the season isn't that long. And sometimes people forget, most leagues, the regular season is a little longer than it is in the main event. So, you're only dealing with 11 weeks. Goes by quickly. And if you get behind, the 8 ball early, it's a lot harder to recover and catch up than, I got other leagues where, the regular season goes, 13 weeks or even 14 weeks. So, 11 weeks is a short window. If you're struggling or you're weak, my advice would be, take some big gambles and try to make, bid aggressively and try to make some hits in the early going, because otherwise you could be, on the outside looking in of even making the playoffs.
Rob, I want to squeeze one email in here before we ask you our last question of the evening, and thank you so much for your time. Jim in Cheney, Kansas writes, "What's up, Rob? Are you starting any Jets not named Le'Veon Bell until Sam Darnold is over his mono?" Thank you for the email, Jim in Cheney, Kansas, and it's a good question. It's very difficult for me to see anybody sitting Le'Veon Bell based on Trevor Siemian being the quarterback, but I can also see no other Jets being started while Trevor Siemian's the quarterback. How do you fall in on this?
Look, they're still going to have to throw the ball to somebody. Trevor Siemian, he's not exactly, going to set the world up. In fact, it's not a quote that his nickname is Captain Checkdown. So that could be good for a guy like Jamison Crowder, to be honest with you, because he's a slot, more of it in the Jets offense. At least he appears to be more of a, short pass, slot type receiver. So I think he could be just fine with Siemian. I don't know. Again, as we said before, I'm sort of wavering whether or not I should start him this week or maybe, see what happens. But I think quite possibly Crowder could be a very viable guy, even with Siemian.
Good answer there. I'm definitely on board with that. Dave, one last question for Rob before we let him go.
All right, Rob, we're looking for start-sit question here. An early round pick you would consider benching in week 2, as well as a sleeper that should be started for sure.
So early round pick, I would bet. I mean, it depends on what early rounds mean, but I think if I owned Aaron Jones, I would be nervous about starting him. I'd probably try to find somebody else. I think he's going to be, even though he's at home, I think he's going to be really bottled up by Minnesota's defense, which is really, really brutal. They held Devontae Freeman to whatever he had, 20 yards or something like that last week, and I think it could be a little bit more of the same for him. And late round guy, I got 2 guys that I would say, late could be pretty productive. Actually, one is Chris Knobson from Washington. Unfortunately, he's a guy that was definitely on my hit list. As a late round guy, he was really a forgotten man. Actually, nobody was talking about him at all. You remember? He's been a pretty darn productive fantasy guy the last couple of years. He's had some injuries and what have you, but he's been a legit producer, and nobody was talking about him. You saw he produced in week 1. I think you'll see more of the same from him in week 2. The other guy is a little bit more off the radar screen and probably isn't even owned on a lot of people's teams, at least in leagues that don't have deep benches, would be Cole Beasley. He was targeted, I think, 9 or 10 times in week 1. I think he was, had 5 catches for 40 yards, 9 points. And he's going up against the Giants this week, who look, pretty pitiful in the secondary. So, he's a guy, if you're looking for a certainly a spot starter in a flex position or even wide receiver, I think he could put up 10 to 15 points easily this week in that game.
That's good stuff. It's good advice, and I think for anybody who, we haven't hit the buys yet, but as Dave alluded to at the top of the show, there have been some significant injuries yet, and I think that's good advice for anybody who's been hit by the injury bug early on to sort of keep pace and maybe make some ground up on the leaders in the FFPC main event, like Rob Leven, who sits 4th place going into week 2 for his Enslaved Herman franchise. Rob, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you coming on, sharing your insights, and good luck to you the rest of the way, not just in the main event, but in all your leagues this year. And listen, I'm going to keep scouring the internet for highlight tapes of you at Cornell as well to try to find out how good of a D-back you actually were.
Hey guys, can I give one shout out? I need to give some props to my son Jeremy, who's my assistant manager.
Yeah.
And does a lot of research. Was in the draft room with me, drafting the team. And our team name is actually his Xbox, handle. So that's where Enslaved Herman comes from. So I just want to make sure I put him out there as, the brains behind the operation.
That's awesome.
Duly noted, and I'm glad you got that out there,
right,
too.
Jeremy.
No question, for sure. Absolutely. That's good stuff. Well, good luck to you and Jeremy, Rob, the rest of the season. Don't be a stranger. Hopefully we're talking to you again soon after you cash that $500,000 grand prize. I know I'm going to be rooting for you.
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Rob
Leven, ladies and gentlemen, from the Enslaved Herman franchise, sitting in 4th place in the FFPC main event as we head into week 2. It's so weird. We've been off essentially for almost a full month, and here we are.
Oh, it's been so much fun.
Technically, we're already into week 2 after what we saw in the Carolina-Tampa game last night. Dave, what's funny is I joined this Thursday night basketball league. Normally we play on Sunday nights. We play on Thursday nights now.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I will tell you about it. We sign up. There's always 2 divisions in these basketball leagues, and we usually sign up for the rec league versus the pro league. The pro league are oftentimes guys in their early to mid 20s. In fact, the pro league that we played, or we didn't play in the pro league. We played in the rec league this past summer, and one of the pro league teams was the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, had a pro league team. And they are the defending D3 champs, national champs.
Wow.
And they had a team in that league, so I'm glad we weren't playing in that league.
I'd say so.
So we signed up for the rec league in this new league. Well, it turns out we should have signed up for the pro league because it looks like we're going to wax everybody.
You're going to be wrecking stuff.
Yeah, Thursday night we won 67-37 in a game we coasted most of the way. I actually had I can't remember the last time I scored 4 points in a game, but I scored 4 points last night.
So you're getting meaningful playing time, was your kind of point.
Out of 40 minutes of playing time, I got 40 minutes of game time. I got about 25.
That's great.
The guys were letting me go last night.
Nice.
And I'm a little sore today. I'm definitely paying the price for it. So, but my whole point is, we've been off for a month, and now here we are already into week 2. We're going to be talking about, hey, how do you make the league playoffs in your main event and your football guys leagues before you know it? Because it is an 11-week season. We're going to have the bye weeks coming up soon. We're already in it. We're in the thick of it. Before you know it, we're already in the middle of it.
Don't ruin it. Just enjoy the journey.
Just enjoy it. That is.
No, you're right though. It does go quickly, just like your kids growing up does.
That's another good point.
With your kids,
That's another good point. Did you read that article about not to bring everybody down, but about the tech mogul, and I can't remember what his wife did for a living. It was something like that about their 8-year-old that he had some sort of rare form of epilepsy and he died in his sleep, and they're talking about how you need to spend more time with your kids.
Oh, I didn't read that.
I should send that to you because it was.
Why would I want to read that depressing shit?
It's powerful stuff, and I think it's words to live by. And while it is depressing,
I watched all the 9/11 tributes. I already got depressed this week.
I'm just telling you that while it on the outside, on the shell of it seems very depressing. There's actually a lot of positive stuff in there.
I'm sure.
I should send that to you.
Instead of hanging out with my kids, I'll read that article.
I'll tell you what you should read, and I posted it on my Facebook today. I'll tweet it out.
I'm not active on Facebook.
I know. I'm going to tweet it out this weekend. Do you know the stress and the calories that these chess grandmasters burn?
No, I could care less about
Oh, my good Dave. It's insane.
Your brains use a lot of calories.
No, but like medically speaking, that these guys are burning calories, their elevated heart rate and tensing of their muscles, the training that goes into this. These chess grandmasters, I'm talking about guys from Great Britain and Romania and Spain. These guys are playing tennis an hour a day. They're playing basketball an hour a day. They're running 10 miles an hour. Yeah, to make sure that they're not tiring themselves out.
Because they don't want to be a big fat ass like all the poker players. Because that's what those guys all look like crap.
And they're hiring personal chefs.
That's great.
They used to be playing 10 to 12 tournaments a year to keep the ranking up and everything. Now a lot of them have been downgraded to 5 to 6 a year so that their minds can.
Like Tiger Woods.
And they're talking. And a lot of these people.
Is this a show about fantasy? Or
no, I'm going to get into fantasy in a second.
No, I was just wondering.
But I read these stories. These guys who play these chess tournaments, they will lose 12 to 15 pounds of weight during the tournament. And they're just sitting there. All they're doing is moving their pieces and hitting the clock.
I could fix that.
But because how
bring some Funyuns.
No, come on.
Pork rinds. Plus, it would annoy your opponent because you have here. Throw me those.
Just give me a second here.
All right. Don't spill your thing. All right, here.
My O'Fallon's pumpkin beer.
Oh, see?
Is what I'm drinking tonight. Yeah.
These are chicharroni pork rinds I mentioned.
Yeah.
So look, you're playing chess.
Right.
And this is going on.
Right.
You're not doing so good, right?
When you're thinking about food, you're not thinking about chess.
Plus, the pork rinds totally stink up the place.
The other thing too that these guys do, they hire these personal chefs. They make sure that they're. I'm not doing it justice. Go on my Twitter this weekend at Eric Balkman. I'm going to post the article and we'll talk about it.
I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm going to go there, like it, retweet it.
It'll take you 5 minutes to read it. It's fantastic.
You're under Juan, Wisconsin, right?
At Eric Balkman, but yes, my name is Juan, Wisconsin on there. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown.
Article.
Aaron Wilson on Twitter has reported that Texans coach Bill O'Brien states wide receiver Kiki QT with an ankle is, quote, trending toward being able to play. Bill O'Brien says he's been out there at practice.
I trust him like I trust a Chinese condom.
He also said, that's the first Chinese condom reference we've had this season. He also says inactives will be interesting. There's a lot of guys playing well. Kuti has actually practiced in full all week. Now, if you look at the snap count over the course of the first week here.
He didn't have 12 for 120 and a touchdown.
Well, you say that, but DeAndre Hopkins, 98% of the snaps. Will Fuller, 97% of the snaps. So they're obviously the clear-cut 1 and 2 receivers. DeAndre Carter, 42%. Kenny Stills, 42% as the number 3. Kuti, it's going to be difficult, in my opinion, Dave, to start him here his first week back. Now, certainly 12 for 120 is a part of the realm of possibility.
He's a very productive player when he's out there.
Good. I am not comfortable starting him at all. You can name pretty much any receiver, and I'm probably playing him over QT this week.
If QT, they say he's good to go and he's going to play his regular slot role, and I have some dicey players I'm thinking about, I might put him in there. But you'd have to be really scraping the bottom of the barrel already. It's only week 2, for God's sake.
Let me tell you a few of the receivers I would play ahead of him. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm always.
I would play Adam Humphries ahead of him.
I would not.
I would play Tre'Quan Smith ahead of him.
I would not.
I would play. Let's see, who else do we got here?
Those guys both suck. They did nothing last.
Trey Quinn, I would play ahead of him.
Trey Quinn.
I'm
not starting.
Not Trey Quinn Smith, but Trey Quinn.
I'm not starting Trey Quinn. I'm starting Traquan or Trey Quinn.
I would play Ted Ginn ahead of him.
Nope, neither.
I would play DJ Chark ahead of him.
Maybe Chark.
What's another good example? I'd play Danny Amendola over him.
Maybe.
Oh, that's for sure. Muhammad.
Amendola had a good game. I'm not playing Sanu over.
I would play Sanu over.
Sanu is boring. What has he ever done?
We have to.
Sanu's like I'm Mr. 3 for 36, and I still get drafted by all these people.
I don't like Philadelphia's secondary. I think their run defense is really good, which is why I think Devontae Freeman's going to have a bad week this week. But I think Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Muhammad Sanu all have big weeks. Let me ask you something.
All have big weeks. What in Austin?
Well, I mean,
Sanu's like the fourth man.
Okay,
on the
listen,
totem
they're
pole.
not all going to put up 20 points. I'm not saying that.
Hooper's there too. He's the fourth guy.
And Hooper. I like Hooper this week as well.
Yes, you like them all?
I like them all. Not Freeman. I don't like Freeman or Ito Smith, but I like all the pass catchers for Atlanta.
You're an optimist.
We should put
the cup is half full.
Let me ask you something. I'm going to let you set the over under, and we'll put a bet on this. Kiki QT, assuming he is active this week.
Yep.
Okay. He scores over blank points this week.
Why don't you just give me QT against Sanu? I'll take that.
QT versus Sanu?
Sure, and all your other crappy starts.
I'm not going to place like 30 bets on this.
Traquan and whoever.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Pick one.
Any of the other duds you threw out there.
Pick one.
Sanu is at least fair to you.
Okay, that's fine. So Sanu versus QT.
All right, I got 5 on it.
Week 2 fantasy points. I have 5 on Muhammad Sanu.
I got 5 on the guy QT.
Hilarious.
I got 5 on it. Nothing with that.
All right. Well, the Blog Talk Radio, always an adventure. All right. Mike Williams, let's talk about him. He returned to practice today. This is according to Gilbert Manzano on Twitter. He did not practice Wednesday. He did not practice Thursday, but it looks like he is on the correct beaten path to suit up against Detroit after he practiced today. Now, remember, Darius Slay is probably going to be on Keenan Allen the majority of the game, and Mike Williams probably should be roaming free against whoever else they try to throw him against him on that Detroit secondary. No Hunter Henry this week as well. Dave, I'm thinking Mike Williams, I don't like him all that much, but I think he's kind of a sneaky start this week.
Yeah, I think if he plays, he did practice today. That's we always, as anyone who listens to the show knows, if they practice Friday, they're usually in pretty good shape. I'd have no problem rolling Mike Williams out there.
We should actually mention, as long as we're talking about tight ends and people that didn't practice today, kind of an interesting strategy by John Harbaugh in Baltimore. He did not practice Mark Andrews or Marquise Brown today, but he also said that he has no concerns with those guys going forward. He thinks that they're going to be out there on Sunday. You believe him?
I do, actually. If he says that and he thinks they're good to go, you got to kind of trust him. I mean, we'll see what they say, but I think they're okay.
Marquise Brown, did you look at his stat line last week?
Yeah, I saw his stat line. I also saw he was only on the field for X number of snaps.
That's what boggled my mind. So he caught like 4 for like 150 and 2 touchdowns on just 5 targets.
Yeah.
And he was on the field for 14 of 76 snaps.
I mean,
76 offensive snaps. He's out there for 14.
I mean,
I put up that.
Normally I would rip on the coaches for this, but because they were just absolutely poleaxing the
Dolphins,
stupid Dolphins,
yeah.
He didn't need to be out there the second half. But normally I'd be like, why are you doing that? So this Marquise Brown, man, this guy could be a total baller.
He could be. Hollywood Brown.
He looks like a baller.
Antonio Brown's cousin.
Yeah. Hopefully he has his head on straight earth.
Well, Antonio Brown did at the start of his career. I will say that. Okay. Are we going to get an Antonio Brown here? Yeah, we're going to get Antonio Brown in a second. I'll hold my take on that.
It wouldn't be a show without him.
For a second, yeah. Kelly Thompson, by the way, was on this week's High Stakes Lowdown on RotoViz, which I know I promised would be out today. There was a snafu with my producer on that. That should be out within 24 hours. So
thank God. I've gotten a lot of texts and emails.
With the FFPC main event leader, Kelly Thompson, that should be out soon. So I'll tweet it out as soon as it's available.
So the leader of the main event goes on your private show, the Snore Down, as Meyer calls it.
Yes, yes. As Tupac affectionately calls it, the high stakes Snore Down. I will say this regarding that. Typically, what I like to do on the lowdown is have former guests of the HSFF Hour come on. Kelly was one, and I like to introduce new players on this show. So you're getting the fresh players, brand new stuff. We've never heard from Rob Leven anywhere before on any high-stakes podcast. Yeah. You heard him here first tonight. on this show.
It's a privilege. Now I understand.
Kelly Thompson's already been on this show.
By the way, Rob was great. So and Kelly Thompson, he sucks. He's a terrible interview.
Well, listen, if he sucks, then I don't know what the other 2,399 players behind him are.
I mean, he's a bad interview. He's a good player.
No, he's not a bad interview.
I'm sure he's lovely.
A lot of great stuff there from him. Let's get into Joe Mixon here, Dave, because this is pretty important stuff. He is questionable for the Bengals Week 2 matchup against San Francisco, according to Jay Morrison on Twitter. Joe Mixon did not practice Wednesday. He did not practice Thursday. He did practice today, and by my understanding, it was not a limited practice. It was indeed a full practice. He has a sprained ankle, obviously not a high sprain because he is out there playing. It's clear that if he does give it a go this week against the Niners, he is not going to be at 100%. I don't think he is in for a heavy workload this week as well. It seems to me, Occam's razor would suggest, go ahead and disagree, just let me make this point.
Yeah, you're fine.
Occam's razor to me would suggest that Joe Mixon maybe handles 55% of the touches, maybe 50% of the touches, but I think we get more Giovanni Bernard here than we have been used to. Go ahead.
What you're reading from is an opinion, and so you're kind of agreeing with the opinion. I don't necessarily know that that's the case. If I had, let's say I had Calvin Ridley to choose, I could pick Calvin Ridley instead of Mixon. I might go that direction.
Dave, I love the Falcons passing offense.
Hey, I'm sure you're down with that at that point.
I'd probably go Mohamed Sanu over Calvin Ridley, but yeah.
If I had a stud like Sanu to play, for sure, I would start with him. I mean, in all honesty, if I had a guy like Sanu was my next option, well, then I'm starting Mixon. I wouldn't downgrade him too much. For a low ankle sprain, you just tape it up and get your ass out there and be a man.
Sure.
And Mixon to me seems kind of like that, even though he hit a girl. So I think he'll be all right. If I had an equivalent option, I would start that player. But if I had someone that, if it was Mixon and someone maybe 10 ranks lower normally, I'd probably still.
Okay, let this is interesting. So, what about Joe Mixon or Malcolm Brown at home against the Saints?
Excuse me, let's start Mixon.
Okay, Mixon or
that pork rind got in the small of my throat.
How about Mixon or a guy who might have an expanded role at home against Dallas this week, Chris Thompson?
Oh, that's an interesting one because I believe Chris Thompson will have a really nice game, and he has a high floor, and he has a pretty decent ceiling too.
I'm not hearing an answer here.
No, you're right. I'm waffling. I'm like a Democratic debate candidate. I think I'd go with Mixon.
I didn't even know there was a Democratic debate this week. That was the issue I was going to allude to earlier. Is we were planning on after our basketball game, we'll watch the second half of the game somewhere. But because of the weather delay, we ended up watching 3/4 of the game.
Yeah, nice. That was good for you guys.
No, that wasn't because I was planning on having 2 beers. I ended up having 5.
Well, that's your own,
No, I totally agree.
Your own demons to battle.
It was, yeah, no question. So did you say Thompson or Mixon? I'm sorry.
I said Mixon, I guess.
All right.
But I really, truly think it's going to be close, and I think Thompson might be a little bit safer play.
If they're both active, you're playing Mixon between him and Bernard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mixon or Shady McCoy at Oakland? Mixon or Tariq Cohen at Denver?
I like Cohen. Cohen's a good start always.
Let me find Mixon or Adrian Peterson, the starting running back for the Redskins at home against the Cowboys.
I'll take Mixon. You can't trust Peterson to catch many passes, but I don't mind Peterson overall as a start and as a pickup.
Let me find one more here, and I think you're going to go with the other guy. Mixon or Matt Breida at Cincinnati?
I would take Breida as the starter.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. All right, moving on here. Let's get into – I made this joke on the High Stakes Lowdown this week. It is a fantasy football podcast. We are contractually obligated to talk Antonio Brown, which is where we are going to fulfill. I feel like, if this was my local radio show, we'd be marking on the log where we're making sure we're making a live mention of the sponsor right now.
Hey, this Antonio Brown segment is brought to you by Neesmith Southside Market.
Neesmith Southside Market, which, by the way, we're going to be broadcasting live from Neesmith Southside Market for 3 straight hours this Thursday. Our normal show goes from 2 to 3. We're doing 2 to 4 this week, and then
it's 2 hours.
But the Appleton Trophy Fantasy Football Show comes on from 4 to 5. There's not time for us to get back to the studio, so we're doing a bonus 3 extra hour at Neesmith Southside this week. Central Waters Brewing, one of the best breweries in Wisconsin. They're going to be offering tasting for all their brews this year. Cypress Wines is going to be there.
Really? You know what? Remind me about that on Thursday. I'm going to come down and hang out with you guys.
Doug Doby.
Will you get pissed if I come down?
No, we want you to come down. Doug Doby is going to be barbecuing.
We'll get Aaron and Bryce and maybe even get Rob down there.
Right, absolutely. Stir Fry, who is what we call him on the air. That's Aaron, Stir Fry. And then his father, Kurt Fry. That's how we refer to him. And then best friend Bryce and mutual friend and producer Rob.
What's my name again?
You were the Dizzle.
Oh, Dizzle, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Maybe I can meet
Thursday.
some of your listeners and they can meet the Dizzle in person.
They will show up.
That'll be like a big deal.
Absolutely. I would think that Fudge will be there, Kramer will be there, and Kevin will be there as well.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it'll be a blast.
Plus, I need to get some fish and meat and stuff.
They have fresh fish there.
Yeah,
every
I always
single
wanted
week.
to go there. I just haven't.
It's a great place. In fact, the O'Fallon's pumpkin beer I'm drinking right now is from Neiman Southside Market.
Nice.
Right here.
A lot of leaves on it.
This is part of their pick six. You can pick 6 of whatever brews they have on hand. These O'Fallon stuff
I don't really
are
drink
fantastic.
beer, but
you love it. Patriots coach Bill Belichick.
I don't drink beer. Oh, you love it.
That's yeah. Two-packer wants to know, can I drink free beer and wine for all 3 hours? Technically, you can have samples for 3 hours for free.
Let's meet down there.
I don't know.
201.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be pounding, but
201, and either you or Uber are driving me home.
Right. 1121 South Oneida Street. All right. Patriots coach Bill Belichick said Antonio Brown, quote, has a long way to go in learning the team's offense. This is according to Nora Princiati on Twitter. One of the beat reporters, asked if Antonio Brown would play a Sunday against Miami, and I'm going to do this in my best Bill Belichick voice. We'll do what's best for the team.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Belichick said that Brown has worked hard. I believe he also said, well, we're not going to give away the game plan here in the press conference. But he said that Brown's worked hard since he joined New England. I saw the Instagram video of Antonio Brown working at the TB12 facility. So certainly Tom Brady has embraced him. And it looks like as far as the sexual assault allegations, the NFL is steering clear of that right now. It looks like he is going to be active on week 2. Where does Antonio Brown fall in for you, Dave? If you own him, are you starting him as a flex? Are you a little bit nervous about playing him this week, or are you rolling him out there?
Yeah, I'm not starting him.
Do you own Antonio Brown anywhere this year, Dynasty included?
I don't own him in Dynasty. I don't own him in redraft, I don't think. I think I avoided him everywhere pretty much.
Why are you not playing him this week if you were to own him?
If I had him, yeah. I mean, first of all, the Patriots are very unpredictable. Even like Josh Gordon, I don't feel comfortable starting Josh Gordon. He's a freaking starting receiver, right?
Scored a touchdown last week.
Exactly. I mean, I feel comfortable starting Edelman on the passing game. I feel pretty comfortable starting James White. That's it. I mean, I don't feel comfortable starting Sony Michel, actually, either.
Oh, I love Michel this week. Let's make a wager on this.
Sure. I'll take James White over Michel.
Okay. I'll do that. I will take Michel over White for, how about $5 for FFPC points this week?
Good. Sure.
I got 5 on it.
I'll take it.
I got 5 on it.
Perfect.
Yeah, you might be right. It's a good bounce back week.
I love Michel. I think he's going to be great this week.
Sure. He was terrible last week. He might be terrible again this week.
Yeah, and I think that's the fallacy with a lot. We listen, all of our sponsors that put out great FFPC content, we love them. But I think a lot of times they are slow to adjust for people who are coming off bad weeks. In the same way with Dynasty. Okay.
So are you saying?
Here's what I'm saying.
So, but you're kind of making my case.
Go ahead.
You're saying they're slow to adjust when he comes off a bad week, like they should be reducing his numbers to even worse than.
No. I'm saying that they're penalizing too much for week 1. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
No, that's okay. I got you. So they overreact more or less.
Right. But for dynasty rankings, I think a lot of our partners, and I think you would agree with me on this, are slow to adjust the new normal for dynasty rankings.
Yeah, those guys are just lazy.
Well, I would never say that. I just think that they're
not our partners. They're other companies. I'm saying, some of these trade calculators, I guess that was my little rant. There's trade calculators that you look at it, and I could probably put Andrew Luck in for, like, Carson Wentz. I'd be like, oh, that's even.
That's even, yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
Thanks a lot, you tons of...
And they're busy, I get it. It is what it is.
It is premium product, but anyway.
Dave, it is what it is, and it's not what it's not.
Very good. All right. So anyway, the point you were making, or whatever, is that
talking about Antonio Brown. Why you don't feel comfortable about starting any Patriots not named Julian Edelman and James White this week.
The head coach of the most successful franchise in NFL history, Belichick, is saying he has a long ways to go. That to me means he's not going to get – that means that he may not play at all. He may get a little bit of playing time. He may get a ton of playing time. I don't know. But the whole litany of the downside is massive. I mean, so why would you start – a player who could be awful.
Right. And listen,
or not even
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you here, but the reason people would be the immense talent that Antonio Brown has over Julian Edelman, over other pass catchers. And
this is the Patriots. It is not the same as any other crappy garbage NFL team. It is the Patriots. They will do, like he said, what is best for the team, which means that Brown could spend the entire Sunday, he could be active, and the whole Sunday, and play 0 snaps. Jacoby Myers could go out there and get a few snaps and get some catches. And Belichick at the end of the game would be like, "Why did you play Antonio Brown?" "Oh, he wasn't quite ready yet. He'll probably be ready next week."
All right.
And that's totally what he would say.
All right.
And hey, congratulations! And plus, they're a 20-point favorite or whatever the hell it is against the Dolphins.
18.5.
Yeah, so it's like, Brady. DraftSharks.com surprise, they ranked Brady number 2 this week, which is great. But if Michelle has a rushing touchdown or James White has a rushing touchdown and they're up like 20-0 in the first half, and Brady has no touchdowns. Holy crap! I'm scared. I'm very scared because Brady might have 0 to 1 touchdowns in the game.
This is interesting to explore. If you were to do quarterback rankings this week, is Brady in your top 10?
No, he is. He really is.
Okay, is he in your top 5?
He's up there. I don't know about top 5. I'd have to look at it, but he's in that neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I put him behind Mahomes and Watson. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, because generally speaking, it's a bad defense. He will probably throw, and he'll be throwing into the fourth quarter probably. But if his first few touchdowns aren't passing and they're crushing him, he's not going to go all Kirk Cousins or anything like that. But I mean, he might have a game where he throws for 190 yards and 1 touchdown and doesn't need to do much else. And that's it. Whatever. What does he care?
Okay.
Have sex with a supermodel wife, and he made $6 million or whatever he made, and he's happy. Everybody's happy.
Did you watch him in the post game after he blasted the Steelers by 4 touchdowns or whatever?
No, I didn't see that.
He doesn't.
He lives a magical life.
He does. That is the best way. He was smiling the whole time. He looked younger than me. Yeah. And I think he's probably
had
about 4 years
toast probably after the game.
Yeah, and some avocado ice cream, some pinto bean tort. He probably enjoyed some spaghetti squash sundae, something like that.
He mainlined a bunch of meth after.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, but it is what it is. It's not what it's not. All right, let's get into.
That's why it's so thin.
Let's get into some emails here, Dave. Before we, we were really up against it. I'm sorry for taking so much time.
No one cares if they're still listening.
Lee in City of Commerce, California, with Golden Tate and now Sterling Shepard out for the Giants this weekend. Is there any fantasy value in starting Cody Latimer, Benny Fowler, or any other wideouts for the G-men? Thanks, guys. That is Lee in City of Commerce, California.
Probably.
Which one?
I have no idea.
Well, okay, so you're not playing any of them if you don't have any idea.
Not only am I not playing them, I don't have them rostered. I mean, come on.
But that's my point. Is like, and now granted, the FFPC waivers have already passed.
Probably.
But you're talking about
do all right. I mean, who knows? Someone has to do all right, right? Someone has to get. Ingram's going to go off, right?
My contention would be Barkley and Ingram. I'm staying away from these receivers, and I'm not playing any of them.
Yeah, Latimer might actually have a game if you or Dyer, but
he had a nice catches. Did you see that nice catch he had on the sideline against Dallas?
Yeah, he's like a super post type sleeper.
Super post.
10 years or 4 years. Yeah. He might be okay.
By the way, Cecil Lammey, who has covered the Broncos from FootballGuys.com.
Did Cecil Lammey ever like Cody Latimer?
I have a Cecil Lammey story I'm going to share here. He said Peyton Manning broke him. That's why Latimer never turned it on.
Broke Lammey?
Broke Latimer because he was constantly undressing him in practice, riding him hard, and Latimer just didn't respond to that type of berating or whatever. Some guys do, some guys don't. That didn't work for Latimer. That's Lammy's contention. I will say this, as much as I've said about Cecil Lammey on these airwaves over the last
very, very complimentary
decade plus or whatever. I listen to the Football Guys week previews. They have two separate week previews every podcast, and they do separate music to introduce each one. And one of them, now you're not going to enjoy this, but it's folk singer Daniel Johnston is one of my favorite artists, and he used one of Daniel Johnston's songs to introduce the show. And I tweeted at Lammy, using Daniel Johnson as your intro music for the Week 2 preview. Nice poll, man. Cecil Lemmy likes that tweet from me.
Nice.
Yes. So and by the way, Chuck Gresham from the Fake Football fame also liked the tweet. So apparently there's a lot of Daniel Johnson fans among the
never heard who you're talking.
He's good. You wouldn't like him, but he is good. All right, let's move on. Tommy in Mansfield, Mass. One question.
Excuse me.
Busting out some chicharrones there.
Queen to Rook 7.
Don't forget to hit the timer, Mr. Grandmaster Dave.
I don't know what Rook 7. That's totally wrong.
I have no idea. It could be right. One question. What in the expletive is going on with O.J. Howard? That's Tommy in Mansfield, Mass.
Yeah, Arians doesn't throw to tight ends. Next.
Is that all it is, literally? Because I think
actually, Arians, did you hear what Arians said?
I did not.
He said
he said he needs to work harder.
Yeah, he said someone asked him about O.J. Howard. He says, yeah, he needs to play better or something like that and work harder. Yeah.
Yeah.
So effectively, Arians thinks that Howard's not doing that good.
Would you be playing O.J. Howard next week?
I hope not. No, I would bench him until
because
further
this
notice.
is the guy that was like the 4th or 5th tight end off the board. Now we're talking about benching.
I mean, if I'm looking at him or Jason Witten, I'm starting Howard, and I'm hoping that they're it's one of those things where the squeaky wheel gets to grease a little bit, and then maybe that he actually gets some targets. Hopefully he does.
I'm nervous about him, and this is a guy that I spent the whole off season talking about. Don't draft him. I bet I drafted him in 5 leagues this year, which is really frustrating to me because I missed out on those elite tight ends. I'm like, I might as well grab Howard here when I should have, and I only grabbed Evan Engram in 1 league, and he looks like the money tight end right now, the guy that you really want. They play each other next week. O.J. Howard is hosting Evan Engram next week. That might be a get-right game for O.J. Howard.
We'll see about that.
If he doesn't do it next week, dude, I mean, he's in cut territory.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you
even Brate's getting targets. Brate.
I know, that's the thing. It's just like, what in the hell is going on here?
Play better, get open.
All right.
Maybe he's the new ASJ. Howard never really. We did talk about this in this preseason, and we talked about O.J. Howard, and I said, for someone so hyped up, he didn't really do all that much last year. He wasn't all that great.
No, he wasn't.
So I thought that, unfortunately, we did talk about Engram and Henry, and we liked Henry, but Henry, of course, is a injury-prone. He attracts injuries like Sigourney Weaver attracts aliens.
It's really, really frustrating. I did not draft Hunter Henry anywhere, but it is frustrating to see. What do you think they're going to do there? Is Antonio Gates on speed dial for the Chargers?
I think if he was, they would have picked him up already. I think Virgil Green's the player who's going to step in, and he might do all right. He really might, actually. I picked him up in 1 league where I had Hunter Henry as a dynasty player in Pirate Swag, but then I dropped him for Vernon Davis.
Okay. Hey, Bulky and Dave, are you giving Corey Davis another shot this week, or am I better off flying out Miles Sanders instead? Flying out must be, I don't know what that is. So glad the HSFFR is back. That's Steve in Charleston, South Carolina. Who would you be playing this week, Dave? Corey Davis or Miles Sanders?
When a player puts up a 0, and Corey Davis is still not a proven player, I mean, he's still he kind of broke out last year. I would probably look at Miles Sanders, I guess. I hate to say it. It might be an overreaction. Miami Vice is on.
Nice. Corey Davis is at home against the Colts this week. Miles Sanders is at Atlanta. So you're rolling with Sanders?
Yeah, that should be a high-scoring game. Sanders will get some action, and we'll see how it goes.
Do you want to take a guess? I know what the total is on that game because I was talking about it on the Appleton Trophy Fantasy Football Show.
Nice.
Which is here in the score locally at 95.3. 52.5.
Close.
Yeah. Dear Shady and the Freak, who is my RB2 this week? McCoy at the Raiders or Cohen in Denver? Thank you for the email, Dan in Golden Valley, Minnesota. Really? Shady McCoy could be starting against Oakland. Again, one of the best offenses in the league, and you're playing Cohen?
He took Damian Williams' job?
I'm saying he could be starting.
What the hell does that even mean? Fine, I got 5 on Cohen.
Well, I don't. Quite frankly, I don't feel.
But
has nothing to do with me second guessing myself. This has everything to do with you being so sure about Cohen here, because I think this is more of a coin flip.
Well, then bet it.
I'm not going to bet it because I'm not going to bet a coin flip. But you're so sure in Cohen.
Yeah.
Well, to talk to me a little bit.
Cohen was super involved against the Packers. He only scored 3 points, but he had a ton of targets. He was in there all the time. They were looking to him as really one of the primary receivers on the team. Now, McCoy, they paid him a lot of money, but Damian Williams is still, granted, McCoy was still kind of getting into the swing of things, but he knows the Andy Reid offense pretty well. But they still did lean to Damian Williams first, and I think that he's definitely the starter. And McCoy looks solid. McCoy is still a quality caliber NFL back, but why would I start a backup over a PPR guy that I know has a 10-point floor? I can't do that.
You know what's funny is it's like Damian Williams is up to bat in baseball. Strike one was them signing LaShawn McCoy. Strike two was LaShawn McCoy not looking like a corpse out on the field. Strike three could be any kind of injury to Damian Williams or any kind of like big performance by LaShawn McCoy, and his value's on the tank.
You're totally right.
Because, I mean, it's on its way to the tank right now.
I don't necessarily agree with you.
How do you say I'm totally right, and then you don't necessarily totally agree with me?
Because I don't think that Damian Williams is going to get hurt. And then what was your other dumb contention?
It wasn't dumb at all. You just said you agreed with it.
I'm just kidding. But I mean, your other.
I said strike one was them signing McCoy, and strike two for him was McCoy not looking like he was done.
So fine, McCoy looks fine, but Williams is healthy and he's a starting back.
Okay.
I don't know what you want me to say.
No, I mean that's fine.
I'll give you all right. Damian Williams minus 70 fantasy points, and you can take McCoy for the season.
You're gonna give me 70 fantasy points?
Sure, I'll give you 70
from week 2 on.
Oh yeah, sure, 70.
Dude, 70?
Yes.
That's not small.
I know, it's amazing.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm making this offer.
All right, so I have LaShawn McCoy.
Right.
Week 2 on.
Sure.
And I have plus 70. You have Damian Williams.
Sure, minus 70.
Minus 70. Dave, how about
that's 5 points a week?
Yeah. How about we go ahead and do let's do 5 on that one.
Not 500?
Not 500. Let's go 5.
All right, we're getting some bets involved.
You know,
it's all going to look stupid at the end of the season.
When we were in Louisville and talking with the Kentucky guys, a lot of them said, "Yeah, you guys aren't making very many wagers this year."
Oh, don't worry about it, Kentucky boys.
Hopefully, we're picking up on it.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
question. All right, this show is going way long. What can we do here?
We could end it.
We can
keep talking.
Sorry. Yeah, let's go to this email here. This is from Chad in Los Angeles. Are you cheeseheads advising Jimmy Graham hosting the Vikings over playing Eric Ebron at home against the suddenly mighty Titans? Thanks, fellas. That is Chad in Los Angeles. So which tight end are you playing? This will be the final email tonight, I think.
You know, I might. Yeah. Ebron had a rough game or whatever, didn't do that well, but I might go Ebron.
I would go. Yeah,
Here we go.
Okay, $5. No, I'm not going to do 5 because this is so close. I'm not. No, the whole idea of doing the wagers is
fine, whatever.
Is when I feel strongly about something, or when you feel strongly about something. I could easily see Ebron outplaying Graham this week, but if those are my 2 tight ends, and I have to make the choice right now, I'm playing Graham at the Vikings over Ebron against the Titans.
And I'm playing Ebron.
And you're playing Ebron. That's fine, but I could easily see Ebron outscoring him. I'm not. Why would I bet that? I don't think you understand. Like you don't. And okay. So this is me telling you. I'm not trying to bully you into any bets. I'm not bullying
anybody.
No. I don't want you to make it seem like I'm bullying you in any bets. Like I'm just saying, like the ones we made tonight. I feel strongly about Sanu over Kuti. I feel strongly about Michelle over White. I feel strongly about McCoy over Williams.
You're wasting words now. I think I'm talking to Alex.
I'm just saying. Oh, no comment.
Alex, I'm just kidding. He doesn't listen.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Why would he waste his time on the show? That's exactly the point.
Right. Well, why would anybody waste their time on the show? Want to know why, Dave? Because it's over. I want to thank all of you for
pretty damn good show.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for listening tonight, including Rob Leven, the 4th place team in the FFPC main event. I want to thank Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob, our audio engineer, Rob, our mutual friend and producer, Bryce, our best friend and audio engineer, and of course, each and every one of you for listening tonight. Certainly appreciate it. We will be back next week, 10/9 Central, with Week 1 football guys, 3rd place team, Chris Vincent. He is going to join us next week at 10/9 Central. It's going to be a fun interview. You know him?
I know Chris.
Have you talked to him before? Oh, all right, perfect. Well, you're going to know his voice and his name next week when we talk to him. Thanks so much for listening. Good luck in Week 2. Make sure you get all those lineups submitted. Hopefully waivers bounced your way this week. I know it was a crazy time on waivers. And, of course, your weekend officially starts
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
We're on the steam floor. Even more so if we on tour, me and E explore the country, wondering about the evening before, trying to explain where the time went, while other rappers find a studio to grind in. Kinda like
I just realized now that we're into the B portion of season 8 here.
The what?
The B portion, the second half.
Yeah. Okay. Second side of the 45.
Yeah, it's more than 45 episodes, but
45 record.
Oh, yes, that is true. That's a little bit before my time. we gotta get some new theme music going, man.
Well, yeah, no kidding. We have to pull out the record player.
Well, we won't pull out the record player. But
hashtag Biden.
Biden.
Yeah, I'll tell you after the show.
Did he have to make a reference to the record player on the Democratic debate?
He said kids last night should get their record players out and listen to that.
Oh my gosh, dude. All right. Well, whatever. I mean, maybe that you know what? Honestly, that probably plays to a lot of his voting people. So maybe it was a smart call on his part. I'm thinking DJ Rectangle. I also have a.
I got chicharrones on the speaker.
That's the pop. That's not the speaker. That's the pop filter.
What the hell ever.
Chancellor Warhol. Chancellor Warhol.
What the hell is that?
Chancellor Warhol, I think, is going to be our intro next week.
All right.
You're going to like it.
Okay.
All right. I got to end this show before Dave Rex's pop filter.
I got it off.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And great seeing most of you, so many of you out in Vegas. And good luck.
These chicharrones.
Good luck to everybody this season. Enough with the chicharrones.